It just feels weird watching it back because
Does it?
It was me on there, and then getting all the views coming through and people liking it. It's just amazing.
When 13-year-old Courtney Hadwin walked onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2018, her trembling hands and soft voice gave no hint of the storm about to erupt.
How are you?
A little bit nervous.
That's okay to be nervous. That's totally understandable. What's your name?
Courtney.
And how old are you?
13.
And I'm guessing you're going to be singing for us?
Yeah.
Within seconds, her wild, gravelly rock vocals stunned the judges, earning Howie Mandel's Golden Buzzer and launching a global viral sensation. But after the TV cameras stopped rolling and the corporate record deal ended, Courtney seemingly disappeared. What really happened to AGT's viral rock prodigy? And where is she today? The viral explosion. In June 2018, a 13-year-old girl walked onto the stage of NBC's America's Got Talent. She looked terrified and was fidgeting with her hands and speaking with soft words to host Tyra Banks and Judge Mel B. In fact, you could feel her panic through the television screen. But the moment the music started playing, everything changed. Courtney launched into a cover of Otis Redding's song, Hard to Handle. She did not just sing it. You should see how she bent her body, kicked her legs, and let out a raspy, mature rock voice that made the judges drop their jaws. Nobody expected that kind of sound to come out of a shy schoolgirl. The audience stood up, clapping and screaming as she owned every inch of the stage. When the song ended, the room went wild. Howie Mandel could barely contain his excitement. He told a quick story about how legendary music boss Clive Davis went to the Monterey Pop Festival years ago and discovered Janis Joplin. Howie said, watching Courtney felt like witnessing that exact piece of history all over again. Without waiting for the other judges to vote, he slammed his hand down on the middle of the panel and hit the golden buzzer. Gold paper rained down from the ceiling, while Courtney burst into tears of joy. That single performance sent her straight to the live quarter-final shows, skipping all the extra audition rounds. Over the next 5 months, the official clip of her audition gained over 50 million views on YouTube alone, making her one of the biggest viral talents the show had ever seen. It felt like she appeared out of nowhere, an instant overnight success story who shocked the whole world with her raw talent. But the truth is, Courtney did not just wake up one morning with that huge stage presence. She had been building her voice for years in a tiny English village where nobody saw her coming. The small-town girl and the soul awakening. Courtney grew up like just any regular kid in Hesleden, a former coal mining village in County Durham, England. She was born on July 6, 2004, to her parents, Paul and Anne-Marie Hadwin, and grew up as the oldest of 3 kids, alongside her younger sister Melissa and her brother Paul. Hesleden was the kind of small town where everyone knew each other, but there was not much going on for young people. Her parents noticed early on that she had a deep love for music. When she was about 5 years old, her father realized she had a natural ear for singing. But Courtney was not listening to standard nursery rhymes or simple modern pop songs on the radio. Instead, she fell in love with vintage soul and old-school rock artists like James Brown, Little Richard, Mick Jagger, and Janis Joplin. She spent hours studying how those legendary singers controlled their vocal power and how they brought so much grit to every single note. Her talent was real, but she needed proper guidance to turn that raw energy into a trained voice. She went to Hesleden Primary School and later attended the academy at Shotton Hall in Peterlee. To get real vocal training, she began taking lessons with a vocal coach named Julie Miles at Vocal Ovation while also spending time at local drama and performance schools in her area. Vocal lessons cost a lot of money, and her family worked hard to support her dream. To help cover the cost of her training, young Courtney went out onto the streets of nearby towns like Newcastle and Durham to busk. She would stand on the pavement with a microphone and a small speaker, belt out old soul covers for passing shoppers, and use the coins dropped into her bag to pay for her next singing class. Those street performances gave her something priceless, and that was a thick skin and a total lack of fear when singing in front of strangers. Passing shoppers would stop in their tracks, surprised to hear such a soulful voice coming from a young kid standing on a sidewalk. The street corners of northeast England became her ultimate proving ground, where she learned how to command a crowd and push past her natural shyness. After singing for hours in the cold wind for local shoppers, she was finally ready to move up from street pavements to real competition stages across the United Kingdom. Teen star and the Voice Kids, UK. Contrary to what many people thought when she showed up on American television, Courtney was not a total newcomer to the stage. She had actually spent years building her craft across the competitive music circuit back home in England. In April 2015, when she was just 10 years old, she entered her very first major singing contest called Teen Star in Newcastle. She performed a soulful version of Bob Dylan's Make You Feel My Love, going toe-to-toe with older contestants and making it all the way to the grand finale. Winning local praise gave her a huge boost of self-confidence. By April 2016, her hard work paid off when she picked up Hartlepool's Performer of the Year award. But Courtney wanted to see if her unique voice could stand out on national television. In 2017, she signed up for the very first season of The Voice Kids UK. During her blind audition, she walked out and sang Tina Turner's rock track Nutbush City Limits. Pop rock singer Danny Jones turned his chair around for her and instantly became her mentor. Week after week, she showed off her retro vocal style. She won her battle round with the classic tune Dancing in the Street and then sailed through the semifinals by blasting out James Brown's hit I Got You, I Feel Good. For the grand finale show in July 2017, Courtney took a big risk and sang the Broadway torch song And I Am Telling You I'm Not Going from Dreamgirls. Even though she was eliminated before taking home the trophy, the huge public response changed everything for her. That very same month, her new public profile landed her a spot as the opening act for the legendary disco group Sister Sledge at the South Tyneside Festival. Standing on a massive outdoor stage, 13-year-old Courtney sang her heart out in front of an audience of over 18,000 people. The UK television appearance gave her a taste of real stardom, but it also opened her up to her first round of tough online criticism. Still, her family knew her rock and soul style had something special that would resonate even more with audiences across the Atlantic. So, they packed their bags and decided to take a gamble on the biggest entertainment stage in the world. The high-stakes run and the AGT finale. Stepping onto the live stage for the quarterfinals in August 2018, Courtney had to prove that her viral Golden Buzzer moment was not just a one-time fluke. The pressure was intense, but she walked out like a true performer. For her first live performance, she chose James Brown's funk track, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. She kicked off her shoes, threw her head back, and danced with complete freedom while delivering her signature raspy vocals. The crowd went wild, and the judges were blown away all over again. Simon Cowell was so impressed that he walked straight over to Howie Mandel, gave him a hug, and said they should start a record label together. Courtney easily secured enough public votes to move forward in the competition. For the semifinals, she stepped up her game even more by singing Steppenwolf's hard rock anthem, Born to be Wild. She brought pure energy to the stage, moving like a seasoned rock star and pushing her vocal limits. When the finals rolled around, she took on Tina Turner's classic River Deep, Mountain High, which showed off both her range and control. On the grand finale night, Courtney got to live out a dream by performing live alongside the British rock band The Struts. Together, they sang Janis Joplin's iconic track, Piece of My Heart. It was a huge moment that showed just how much Courtney fit into the world of genuine rock and roll. When the final results were read out, the competition was tough. Courtney ended up finishing in 6th place overall, with magician Shin Lim taking home the grand prize. While some fans were shocked that she did not land in the top 5, her time on the show was a huge success. Her performances pulled in millions of views, which made her the most watched act of the entire 13th season. She might not have won the trophy or the official prize money, but her trajectory was far from over. The music world had taken notice of the young British girl with the awesome voice, and major opportunities were already waiting for her the moment she stepped off that stage. The Vegas residency and the Psycho's Arista deal. Finishing in 6th place on a television show often means fading back into normal life. But Courtney's journey went in the complete opposite direction. Almost immediately after the season wrapped up, she was invited to headline 5 live shows at the Paris Theater in Las Vegas alongside the season winner, magician Shin Lim. Taking her energetic rock performances to a proper Vegas stage proved that her appeal went way beyond home screens. The real prize, however, was waiting in the music industry. In December 2018, Courtney officially signed a major joint recording contract with Simon Cowell's record label, Psycho Music, in partnership with Arista Records. Simon publicly praised her, saying he would never forget her initial audition and was thrilled to build her future alongside top music executives. Joining a huge corporate label that had represented legendary icons was a huge milestone for a 14-year-old girl from a mellow English village. Early in January 2019, she returned to television screens for America's Got Talent, The Champions. This special spin-off series brought together 50 of the most memorable acts from around the world. Instead of relying on old covers, Courtney took a leap of faith and performed her very first original song, titled Pretty Little Thing. The track showed off a catchy, soulful rock edge, which proved that she was already thinking like a real recording artist, rather than just a competition contestant. Later that year, on October 25, 2019, she released her debut 4-track EP called The Cover Sessions. The project featured stripped-back, live rock reinterpretations of popular tracks like Harry Styles' Sign of the Times, Lil Nas X's Old Town Road, Jonas Brothers' Sucker, and Louis Capaldi's Someone You Loved. She took modern pop songs and twisted them into her own gritty style, giving fans a taste of what she could do in a recording studio. On paper, everything looked like a dream come true, but in truth, Courtney had battles she was fighting. The unseen cost. On screen, Courtney looked like a fearless force of nature who could command a room of thousands without blinking an eye. But off-screen, the reality of sudden fame was much harder to handle. Behind that energetic stage persona was a young girl fighting intense personal struggles, starting right before she even stepped in front of the judges. In December 2021, Courtney joined Howie Mandel on his podcast, Howie Does Stuff, where Howie revealed a piece of backstage history that viewers never saw on television. Before her famous audition in 2018, show producers warned Howie that Courtney was so overcome with extreme anxiety that she was physically ill backstage right before walking out. Her nerves were so severe that staff were worried she might not be able to perform at all. The moment the music began, her instincts took over, but the emotional toll was still very real. Working through that level of anxiety became even tougher when she had to face public reaction to her instant fame. When she returned home to her school in Peterlee, her daily life did not turn into a smooth victory lap. Instead, she faced harsh bullying from her peers. Classmates mocked her unique style of singing and threw mean comments at her face and told her that she sang like a boy. The internet, too, was unforgiving. Cruel commentators lined up on social media and dismissed her raw vocal technique and wrote her off as a shouter rather than a real singer. Others mocked her wild dancing, calling it strange or forced. Her family did their best to shield her through the noise. Her father noted in interviews that every famous singer deals with online haters, pointing out how hard public scrutiny can be on young artists. Her mother admitted that watching her child go through the harsh spotlight was terrifying, though she admired Courtney's courage to keep going anyway. Even Courtney struggled with self-doubt during this period. She openly admitted in interviews that she hated listening to her own recordings or watching her old performances back, saying it made her cringe and feel uncomfortable. Dealing with anxiety and bullying, both online and in school, would be difficult for anyone, especially a teenager trying to find confidence in herself. But sadly, Courtney still had more to worry about when it came to her music, as the pressure and criticism surrounding her growing career continued to weigh heavily on her. Leaving Psycho and going independent. Just as Courtney was learning how to work around the messy realities of early fame, her career took an unexpected turn. In 2020, Simon Cowell decided to shut down Psycho Music, ending the long-running label that had handled some of the biggest names in pop. The company was closing its doors for good, leaving its roster of talent in a spot where they had to figure out their next steps. For a teenager still finding her feet in the music industry, it felt like the floor had suddenly dropped out. But looking back, that sudden closing turned out to be the exact turning point she needed. Instead of hunting for another deal with a big traditional record company, Courtney took a step back and chose a completely different route. She decided to step away from corporate boardrooms altogether and take full ownership of her career. In a comment left right under her Breakable music video on YouTube, she laid out her situation plain and simple for her fans, writing that she was finally working as a fully independent artist and doing everything her own way. Taking that step was a pretty gutsy move for someone who got her big break on a network TV show. Most young singers from those competitions get pushed to release fast cover albums right away, striking while the iron is hot so the label can make a quick profit before audience interest fades. Courtney wanted no part of that formula. She was tired of people trying to direct her style or tell her what kind of songs she ought to sing just to get on the radio. So she chose to step out of the public eye for a stretch. She spent that time at home, where she focused on her own well-being and taking the time to grow into her adult voice. She picked up the guitar and learned the ins and outs of writing her own music from scratch. Going independent meant she was running the whole show herself. The huge promotional budgets and corporate backing were gone, meaning every single decision fell directly on her shoulders. She started using platforms like TikTok and Instagram as a direct line to her followers, posting rough studio clips and showing off early song ideas without a PR team filtering any of it. The Kevin Bowe Sessions. Once Courtney made up her mind to work as an independent artist, her next job was to figure out what her own original music was actually going to sound like. Up until that point, the world knew her as a brilliant interpreter of other people's material, whether she was singing old soul classics on stage or covering modern pop hits for her early EP. But if she wanted to build a lasting career that went far beyond reality television reruns, she needed a signature sound of her own. She needed songs that belonged strictly to her. Songs that carried her own thoughts and her own unique brand of energy. To make that transition happen, she reached out across the pond to collaborate with veteran American producer and songwriter Kevin Bowe. Based out of Minneapolis, Kevin Bowe was a seasoned industry hand with a long, proven track record of working alongside real rock and blues royalty, including names like Paul Westerberg and Etta James. He knew how to guide strong and distinct singers without stripping away the grit or personality that made them special in the first place. Working together gave Courtney a safe creative space to experiment and learn the intricate craft of turning personal feelings into polished studio tracks. In February 2023, the world finally got its first taste of this new era when Courtney released her debut independent single titled Breakable. The track was a complete eye-opener for fans who had been following her since her television days. It combined a stomping rock beat with bluesy guitar riffs, which served as the perfect backdrop for her powerful, raspy vocals. Instead of sounding like a polished corporate pop product, the song felt genuine and full of emotion. She kept that creative momentum going right through the rest of the year, dropping a steady stream of original singles that showed off different sides of her musical personality. Songs like That Girl Don't Live Here, Call Me Back, and Monsters gave her audience a deeper look into her personal growth. Each new track felt like another piece of the puzzle falling into place. Then in November 2023, she put out a fun, high-energy holiday track called Christmas Rocks, which carried her own punchy, guitar-driven spin on the festive season. the constant stream of new music made one thing clear, and that was Courtney was no longer waiting around for permission from a record label to share her work. Carnegie Hall, Clive Davis, and Metropolis Studios. All the hard work Courtney put into writing her own songs and finding her true sound started opening huge doors in the music industry. In April 2024, she received a massive honor that brought her entire journey full circle. Legendary music executive Clive Davis personally invited her to perform at the New York Pop's 41st birthday gala, held at the world-famous Carnegie Hall in New York City. To really understand how special that invitation was, you have to remember her very first audition on America's Got Talent back in 2018. That was the night Judge Howie Mandel told a story about Clive Davis discovering Janis Joplin at the Monterey Pop Festival decades ago before slamming the golden buzzer for Courtney. Fast forward 6 years, and the real Clive Davis was standing in the wings of Carnegie Hall, watching 20-year-old Courtney take the stage. Clive Davis chose Courtney to open the entire star-studded evening. She stepped out under the bright lights of one of the most famous music venues in the world and performed Janis Joplin's iconic song, Piece of My Heart. Backed by a full orchestra, she delivered a stunning performance that brought the crowd to its feet. Proving her talent on a legendary stage in front of top industry leaders showed everyone that she had grown far beyond a viral internet video. A few months later, in October 2024, Courtney headed over to London to take another huge step forward in her career. She booked time at Metropolis Studios, one of the most famous recording spaces in the world, where legendary acts like Queen, Amy Winehouse, and Adele had made iconic records. Courtney gathered a team of live musicians and spent time recording live in studio sessions, cutting tracks from her growing catalog of original music. She wanted to capture the true, unpolished energy of her live voice on tape, without relying on studio tricks or vocal fixes. Along with her growing confidence as a performer, her personal look and style went through a clear evolution as well. Courtney traded in her old image for a bold aesthetic. She dyed her hair a bright crimson red, embraced classic vintage rock fashion, and brought a cool energy to her social media pages. On platforms like TikTok and Instagram, she posted short clips of her studio sessions, behind-the-scenes moments from rehearsals, and casual videos chatting directly with her followers. The song that meant the most. Out of everything she put out during those independent years, one song became the one fans kept coming back to. That song was Monsters. Years after it first came out, Courtney finally opened up about where it came from. She said she wrote it during a stretch when songwriting was the only way she could get her feelings out. While she was working through something hard in her personal life. She never spelled out exactly what that something was, and honestly, she did not need to. The song said enough on its own. Monsters ended up going further than almost anyone expected. It climbed into the top 20 on Billboard's Hard Rock Digital Song Sales chart and hit #1 on iTunes in both Australia and Sweden. The video alone has now passed 1 million views. For a song that started out as one girl working through a rough patch with nothing but a guitar and a notebook, that kind of reach says a lot about how many other people needed to hear it too. Years later, she brought the song back in a different form. She recorded a live version of Monsters at Metropolis Studios, the same room where some of the artists she grew up idolizing once stood and recorded their own records. Standing in that space and singing something so personal in the same building where her heroes made history felt like a full-circle moment for her. Little Miss Jagged and fronting Courts. All the years of writing and honing her live craft finally built up to her most ambitious project to date. Her debut full-length original album titled Little Miss Jagged. The album title was inspired by a single moment while she was looking back at everything she had written. She said that once she wrote the words down, they just fit. Jagged, in her words, meant rough around the edges and not perfect, and she compared herself to Marmite, saying people either love her or they do not, and that has always been true for her. Looking back at the whole process, she admitted the album had actually been coming together since she was 16 years old, without her even realizing it at the time. and that finishing it at 21 felt like handing her own diary over to the world. A big part of that change came from working closely with Kevin Bowe. She has said he was the first person who pushed her to actually write alongside him instead of leaving the job to session writers, and that he helped her get to a place where she could write with real honesty for the first time. The record reflects that mix of honesty and range. It moves from the funk-driven DNA to the neo-soul feel of You Only Love Me When I Lie to the pop-punk bounce of Spellbound. And Courtney has said more than once that she never wanted the album to fit inside one single genre. Courtney designed the track list so every song could stand on its own while telling a complete story about growing up, dealing with life under a public microscope, and finding her own feet as an adult. To take those new songs out on the road, she took another major step by forming her own official six-piece live band named Courts. Stepping into the role of a true frontwoman, she surrounded herself with a full lineup featuring lead and rhythm guitars, keyboards, bass, and drums. Having a dedicated live group allowed her to recreate the thick, energetic sound of her studio recordings on stage without using recorded backing tracks. With Courtsy behind her, she hit the road where she played headline club shows and venue dates across the United Kingdom. Stepping onto intimate club stages gave her a totally different experience than singing for television cameras. She was now connecting with real music fans face-to-face and building a solid grassroots following the classic way, one live gig at a time. And none of this happened with a major label pushing it either. Courtney had built up close to 4 million followers across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, combined by the time the album came out, all without a corporate marketing team behind her. Her original music caught the attention of serious rock royalty. In early 2026, Courtney dropped the blues rock single, You Only Love Me When I Lie. The track featured signature guitar work from Little Steven, also known as Steven Van Zandt, of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. Having a Hall of Fame musician lend his guitar skills to her track proved that respected legends in the industry viewed her as a legitimate contemporary rock artist rather than a former child star. Today, at 22 years old, Courtney manages her own releases and tours on her own terms. She lives her life out of the commercial spotlight by choice, preferring the freedom of being an independent touring artist over the pressure of major label contracts. So when people look back at that explosive audition video and wonder whatever became of the timid 13-year-old girl with the golden buzzer, the answer is simple. Courtney Hadwin grew up, broke free from the corporate music system, and built the exact rock and roll career she always wanted. Tell us your thoughts. Did Courtney make the right choice by walking away from major record labels to build an independent rock career on her own terms? Or do you think she should have stayed on the mainstream pop path after America's Got Talent? Leave your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please click on the next one on your screen.